Hi everyone, welcome to your garden video for the week. I'm going to teach you how to make fermented carrots. Now, did you all know that you have bacteria all over you and all in you? Now, some of this bacteria we know is bad, right? That's the kind that causes illness, sickness, but other kinds of bacteria on and in us are really good for us. And in fact, completely necessary for our survival. So in other words, without this good kind of bacteria, we wouldn't be alive. So most of this good bacteria is going to be living in our intestines, the part of our body that does the digestion. So not our stomach, but all those long back and forth tubes of intestines inside our tummies. So that's what's going to be digesting our food. Now, one of the main types of good bacteria is called Lactobacillus acidophilus. That's a big name, isn't it? We don't need to call it Lactobacillus acidophilus. Most people just call it lactobacillus. And it's a really fancy name for the very good bacteria that's going to be living in your gut. Now, this good bacteria is going to help you digest your food properly. So if you're digesting your food properly, that means your body is getting all the nutrients it can from the food you're eating, which in then turn means you can get lots of good energy, lots of good bodily and cell repair. Now, you kind of want to imagine your body as, as it's going about its day, as you're walking, as you're running, as you're sitting there reading, as you're jumping off of things, your body is getting wear and tear. Just like your shoes. The shoes, as you move around in them, they get wet, they get worn, and sometimes torn, and they get worked through. Now, this good bacteria in your gut is going to give your body, make those nutrients from the food available so your body can take those nutrients and repair all those little wears and tears on your body that you get normally throughout the day. So energy, wear and tear, repair. Ooh, I kind of like the way that sounds. And then it also can help your brain and your emotions that are processed there, can help them stay regulated. So sometimes people get sick or they have trouble with their emotions, and doctors have actually linked these problems to imbalances in their gut bacteria, which is really interesting. Some people call it the gut-brain connection, right? Your gut, your intestines where your bacteria is held, if that's out of balance, your brain might be out of balance too. This really incredible series of studies that doctors and scientists are doing right now to show us how we are so connected here and here. We often think of ourselves as just having one brain, right? In our noggin. But the doctors and scientists are finding out that really our intestines are kind of like a second brain. So problems like sicknesses or even just emotional instability can arise when we either have more bad bacteria than good bacteria, or when we don't have enough good bacteria. So one of the best, easiest, and most delicious ways of increasing your body's good bacteria is by consuming fermented foods. Now, you guys might be thinking, what is a fermented food? Well, fermented foods are foods that are packed with that good bacteria. That's going to be helping your body, right? That lactobacillus bacteria is pretty much the one that's going to be in most of these fermented foods. Now, today we're going to be making a fermented carrot delicious dish, which if you see this video and you say, that looks good, or I want to work on my gut bacteria, show your parents this video and you guys can make it together. It's so simple. So the first things we're going to do is I'm going to quickly kind of explain the fermenting process, and then we'll get into the step-by-step. So fermenting is basically taking, usually it's a vegetable, like carrots, cucumbers, cabbage, right? Cabbage fermented is just sauerkraut. You've probably heard of that. Fermented cucumbers or pickles, right? So you're taking the vegetable and you're going to soak it basically for a couple of days in salt water, which sounds weird, but that lactobacillus bacteria can thrive in a salty environment, whereas the other bacteria, that not necessarily good bacteria or even that bad bacteria, cannot live in a salty environment. So you're kind of creating this like perfect breeding ground space for that really good lactobacillus bacteria to grow and reproduce, and you're going to get tons of it, whereas the other bacteria just says, I can't really live here, and it doesn't. So you're going to be feeding yourself just billions of little good bacterias, which is going to in turn make your body feel a lot better, right? Okay, so what you're going to need, we're just going to start with carrots today. What you're going to need is, I think this was 3 or 4 carrots chopped up. Now, I think this is more than I'm going to need for this one jar that I'm creating, but I'll just nibble on them later. So you're going to cut your carrots into little rounds, or you can cut them into long pieces. So you're going to need, why don't you grab 4 large carrots? Then you're going to need measuring spoons, a quart jar that is empty and clean, and then another quart jar that has warm water. So not cold water, not room temperature water, not hot water, warm water. You're going to need some salt. Now the type of salt you choose is actually very important. So we're going to talk about that really quick. Most table salt is going to be iodized, which means they put iodine in it and they bleach it with chlorine and they do all this crazy stuff to make it look like that's salt. And you know that's not the salt we want to use. We don't want to use table salt. We want to be using sea salt, any kind. There's black salt, there's white sea salt, there's Himalayan pink sea salt. You can use any kind of sea salt you want, or kosher salt, because that's going to be the salt that is most unrefined. You don't want it to have been processed a lot because you're going to be losing a lot of the minerals. And minerals are really, really important for our body, but that's a whole nother thing. So I have chosen just standard white sea salt. Now, I would have opted for a fun color like pink, but it's like 5 times the price and it's salt. So we're going to go with white sea salt today. So then you're going to need a knife to chop up your carrots. Hopefully that can be your parents can do that part, or they can supervise you doing that part. And then if you want to make it kind of fun, you can put in some extra flavors. So today I'm going to be putting in some grated ginger. Here's a ginger root. So then I also have a grater. And I'm thinking of spicing things up, so I'm going to put a pepper in it. And then the last things you'll need is some piece of cloth. It does not matter what it is. It could be a hanky. It could be just a scrap piece of cloth from an old t-shirt. I happen to have this kind of nice piece of linen hanging around from the natural dye video that you will either see next or have seen, kind of depending on the way things work. And then a rubber band. All right, let's get to it. So first things first, you got to chop your carrots. So you can either chop them into rounds or you can chop them into like sticks. I'm going to choose rounds because I think they're going to fit better into the jar. So chop your carrots, that's number 1. The second thing you're going to do is get your warm water and your measuring spoons out, and you're going to find the tablespoon. Now, on your measuring spoons, there should be markings. 1 TBSP. Now, TBSP stands for tablespoon. Do not get it confused with the teaspoon, which is TSP. The difference is a B. So you want the biggest one, tablespoon. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of salt into that warm water. Excuse me, carrots. 1, 2, and then you're done with that. So I forgot a spoon. We're gonna let this kind of dissolve and settle for a little bit, and then I'm gonna go grab a spoon and stir it.